Hi, welcome to Ask a Prof. This is Cynthia Yao, your host. Today we're speaking with Dr. Dan Dolderman, who is the professor of the wildly popular Psych 100 course, as well as positive psychology and environmental psychology, which is what we're going to be talking to him about today. So, Dr. Dolderman, in your opinion, hi, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
Good. Can you talk a little more about the field of environmental psychology and why you're so drawn to it?
Environmental psychology is really extended. You think psychology, it's all in your head, right? Environmental psychology is kind of taking psychology out into the physical environment. Just like how something like social psychology or a socially oriented kind of psychology would think about how people are affected by their social circumstances, their friends and family, and socialization processes and culture and all this kind of thing. Environmental psychology takes that to the physical environment. So how does the setup of this room affect how people feel in the room? How does the setup of a school affect how people learn?
Now, in your opinion, what are some of the barriers in respect to environmental issues, psychology or psychological-wise or social-wise?
That's kind of a demoralizing question.
Sorry.
Because there are barriers. I mean, if you get over-focused on the barriers to environmental change, it can make it seem like the environmental behaviors are very hard to change, which isn't really true because we change behaviors all the time. And oftentimes there can be just a couple of things that are holding people back from adopting some sort of change, or from that change spreading to through the population. We would think like social norm barriers. There's control barriers. Though control barriers are huge when it comes to taking action on some sort of macro issue. Like people get overwhelmed by something like climate change, right? And they think, I'm concerned, this sounds really bad, it seems like there's a lot of evidence for it, et cetera, but what do I do? And then they get told, well, you should focus on like private lifestyle changes. You should, turn off your lights a little bit more, or change your compact fluorescent lights to incandescent lights to compact fluorescent lights, or something like that. And these things are important, but they're so micro scale in relation to the problem that is what often captivates people's attention. They're like, wow, this is a huge problem, and well, this is what I can do about it, right? So I think a lot of barriers have come from that sense of sort of disempowerment, that people feel like they can't see what the significance of their individual contribution would be, right? Absolutely.
So what are some of the things that you can suggest for U of T students on campus to be more environmentally conscious?
It's a good question. It's a really good question. I mean, let's bring it right home, eh? Probably the most important answer I would give to U of T students or non-U of T students, or just about anybody, is to get involved, to tell you the truth. Because issues like climate change are fairly imminent, and what we do in the short term, like what we do over the next decade, is actually really, really important. I think people going about business as usual and making small changes is it's not the overwhelming message I would send. I would send a message about get involved in organizations on campus that are involved in environmental things. Like there's a sustainability office at U of T that has been doing amazing work, setting up student programs, working at the sort of infrastructure level, all levels, basically looking at environmental sustainability on campus. There's all kinds of student positions available for people there. There's work study positions and probably volunteer positions, and I'm not sure exactly, but they have all kinds of campaigns going on and everything. But getting involved is also, it's not just about joining organizations, it's about talking to people, right? And that's where I often take this in a kind of a social networking direction, that what people can really do is help share the perspective that they actually have, which is, most people most people have a decent level, let's say, or whatever, most people have some considerable level of environmental concern, right? So starting a conversation with people about things that you can do, sharing news stories on Facebook that you think are interesting, like using the social networking tools that we use all the time to share things that we think are cool or interesting with each other, is probably the single most important way. What I would have stick in people's minds, if anything, would be talk to people and get involved with sort of the overall social conversation around environmental issues.
Absolutely. So keeping students informed and using social network as one of the ways, as a vehicle to sort of introduce this, is that why you started the Unstoppable Snowball project, or can you tell us more about that? Especially that awesome YouTube video that is now on the social network.
So it comes from your heart. So just start. You don't have to sound smart. Go deep till your feelings are tearing you apart. It's like a work of art, not a graph or a pie chart. But I'm not a rapper, obviously. I'm a teacher. I got no special features, but my kids love all kinds of sea creatures. So get in the game, don't sit on the bleachers, don't have to be a preacher to be an outreacher, you see. Every day you work your weary bones and come home to the kingdom you can call your own, where your imagination can freely roam. A mental vacation, escape the corporation where you sweat and you toil with no fascination or motivation beyond getting that financial compensation. And we're unfulfilled, popping pills, seeking thrills, video games, counting up more kills while the planet's soaking up more oil spills.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Dolderman.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Dr. Dan Dolderman, Professor of Psych 100 Environmental Psychology and Positive Psychology. This is Cynthia Yao, your host for Ask a Prof from UT TV. For more information, check out the Facebook page, Unstoppable Snowball.